Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ball Oasis show. It's been a long time since we've been here. It's been a little over 2 weeks, and I just want y'all to know that it's completely on me. That is my fault. We were supposed to record this episode probably around this time last week, going into the second round, and I've been battling some sickness. It's been a rough couple of days for me. So I appreciate Jacob's patience. I appreciate y'all's patience. If you've been looking for this episode, and I know a couple people have reached out to us like, where's the next episode? Where's the next episode? Like, where have y'all been? We're here now. We're here now, and I guess that's all that matters. And we have plenty to talk about today. There's a lot has already happened in the playoffs. The last time we were on this channel, the first round had really just started, and the playoffs were still super fresh. I don't even know if the playoffs had even started at all. I think it was
playing going on. I think.
Yeah, so it was previewing the first round matchups, and the first round, of course, is completely finished at this point, and we're almost halfway through the second round. It's been a pretty entertaining playoff so far. We've had some really entertaining series, some big moments already, like we see every playoffs. But I think we should start this episode by acknowledging the 2023 MVP Joel Embiid. Congratulations to Joel Embiid for winning the 2023 MVP.
Finally got one.
Yeah, Jacob, you got any short feelings on that?
Just glad he got one. I've kind of said it all year, been back and forth. We've talked about it a lot, but I'm just glad he got it.
Yeah, feels like a long time coming, huh?
Yeah, finished second. 2 years in a row?
Yeah. And we, of course, saw the whole discourse towards the end of the season, like, which way will it go? Will it be Jokic? Will it be Embiid? Will it be Giannis? And it really could have gone either way at a certain point. But the first place votes, Joel Embiid dominated the first place MVP votes. I think he had 50, 55 more first place votes than anyone else. So whether that be because of media narrative or how he finished the season in his last couple of games, compared to the other two front runners, ultimately won it for him. So congratulations to Joel Embiid with all that being said. I think that we should start today. I think it would be wrong of us not to acknowledge what's happened already in the playoffs. So I think that we should recap these first round series, even though they're probably common knowledge to everybody at this point what went on in a lot of them. I think it's important for us to talk about them, though, to understand why we've gotten to this point where we're at right now in the second round. So I say we start with the Eastern Conference, Jacob, and we can go ahead and we can just start with the 4-0 Sixers over Brooklyn. Pretty dominating series by the Sixers, regardless of Joel Embiid being on the floor or not. Jacob, what ultimately do you think won this series for the Sixers?
To me, it was they basically doubled Joel, tripled every time. So we just found the open man, hit shots, and they just didn't have size like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson a few times. They just didn't have those scores to, take it down the stretch and win the game.
Yeah, and we knew going into the series that Brooklyn was going to have to find big scoring nights from some players who aren't accustomed to doing that on a normal basis. And so we knew they were kind of behind the 8 ball already. But Philadelphia's three-point shooting, like you said, was something going into the series that I remember that I mentioned that maybe Brooklyn should try to make Philly shoot a lot of threes. Maybe they should try
He said, I think, make Tobias shoot or relive Tobias.
Yeah, make Tobias Harris shoot, make Tyrese Maxey shoot, make James Harden shoot, make the bench players shoot. And Philly burned them. Philly burned them almost the entire series. And they got out of that one. They got out of that series pretty unscathed. Of course, Joel Embiid exited the series with a lingering injury that's affected him in this second round, unfortunately. But pretty quick work made of the Brooklyn Nets by the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round. The Cleveland Cavaliers versus the New York Knicks. This was a series that I had the Knicks.
Yeah, I had Cleveland.
Series going in, and that's proven to be my best pick so far, with the New York Knicks beating the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5 games in pretty dominating fashion. And I think whenever we talked about it with Tanner, it was the whole conversation of could the Cavs stars, could they outplay could them by themselves kind of outplay the fullness of the Knicks team? Would it be the Knicks depth that prevailed, or would it be the Cavs star power that prevailed? And it ended up being the Knicks depth by a long shot. Donovan Mitchell had some pretty bad games in this series. Darius Garland did not play his best basketball in this series, and the Cavs bench did not give them much help at all. So they did not look good in this series. The Knicks came out, they dominated the boards, which was a pretty crazy thing to see. This was a grinded out, slow paced series, a lot of low scoring games in this series. Jacob, what's your synopsis of this series? Why do you think the Knicks ran away with this series the way that they did?
Like you said, the depth. I kind of counted on Donovan Mitchell doing what he does in the playoffs, and he did for the most part. Just the Knicks had more guys to step up, like quickly Randall Brunson, RJ Barrett. I think had a few games. The Cavs just didn't have the depth guys besides Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. Darius Garland struggled a few games that series too.
Yeah, wise for sure.
Yeah, so it was. I guess offensively they just couldn't get a groove on on the road besides Donovan Mitchell. Like Evan Mobley, you don't really expect a lot offensively from him, but he's like a big part. So they just couldn't keep up in New York scoring and the depth.
Yeah, and I expected more from Cleveland. I think everybody expected more from Cleveland out of this series. I don't think that they shot the ball really poorly all series. And shout out to the Knicks. The Knicks played incredible defense this series, but Cleveland did not play good offensively. And I think after losing game one, I think that really set them behind the eight ball to be a young team in the playoffs, because I feel like what aided the Sacramento Kings in lengthening the series against the Warriors for as long as they did was that they were able to win those first two games and build up some confidence, build up some they believed in their system. They believed that they could operate in a high pressure environment that the playoffs is. They're able to run their half court offense effectively. The Cavs were not able to do that. The Cavs did not do that in the slightest. And that started in game one. And it of course, game two, they bounced back and they won pretty big. But after that point, they looked really, really flat pretty much in every game past that. And so it was a poor showing from the Cavs, but that's a young Cavs team. And maybe JB Bickerstaff is not the answer as the coach of that team. But I think that that's a decision to be made a little further down the line. I think that this team can be improved in the offseason. But shout out to the Knicks. The Knicks really dominated this series, and they have proven that they are built for the playoffs. They've guys like Jalen Brunson, who is not having the greatest series right now against the Miami Heat so far, but he had a really great first-round series. And they did it without Julius Randle on the floor a lot, which is a crazy thing to say. Julius Randle, their leading scorer, their best player a lot of nights. They didn't need Julius Randle to win this series, and that's a really big thing for that New York Knicks team. Moving on to the next series, we'll talk about Boston, Atlanta first. We'll talk about Boston, Atlanta. The Atlanta Hawks stretched this series to 6 games, and that's something that kind of surprised me to see. Boston ended up winning the series 4-2 over the Atlanta Hawks, but the Hawks had some good offensive games. Some games where their bench gave them some good shooting nights. Guys like Bogdan Bogdanovic, he was really good in this series. Saddiq Bey had some good shooting nights. Jalen Johnson came in and gave them some good minutes. Trae Young had some good games in this series. He was a little up and down. DeJounte Murray was all right. But ultimately, we just knew that the Hawks could not hang with the Boston Celtics, regardless of how good they played. And it's not even like Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum were giving you crazy nights in this series. That Boston Celtics team is just so tough to beat time after time after time, because they're going to make adjustments and they're going to lock in defensively. And I think that their physicality is what ultimately won them this series.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Hawks, despite Atlanta, my thing almost fell. Despite Atlanta being hot offensively a lot of nights shooting the ball, we knew that Boston had that physical edge over them. Atlanta got on the offensive glass. In the series, and that really aided them. Shout out to Clint Chamberlain for that. I like calling him Clint Chamberlain now after the play-in, because he had some games where he was up around 20 rebounds.
Yeah.
So he did not play poorly. He did not play poorly in the series, but we just knew Boston was better. Jacob, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, they I don't know. It's like Boston. they played good, but they just had the stretches where they kind of let Trae Young just do whatever he wanted. We got to switch on Al Horford, and blow by him or shoot a three. Yeah, ultimately, we knew the outcome. It just, I guess, was a matter of how many games. But yeah, they tried. Like I said, the bench production. That was my surprise. Their bench. I didn't think their bench would, be that big in the series,
Right.
and they actually were. Because we talked before, I think either the play-in or before the play-in, that they were hard to watch. The Hawks were very hard to watch, and
I said that on multiple occasions. Yeah.
they wouldn't like. I didn't enjoy them against Boston, but they wasn't too bad as they were.
Yeah. They made the series fun, and that's something I didn't think that they would do. So shout out to the Atlanta Hawks for that, at least. They may need to make some changes in the offseason to
It'd be a few
choose
trades.
choose what direction they want to go in as a team, because I think that they're kind of stuck right now. The DeJounte Murray trade, the first 1 year in, it hasn't proven to have improved their team by much at all. So we'll see what they do in the offseason. I think Quinn Snyder is a good coach for that team as of right now. I'll say that. I don't know if I'll have that same sentiment going forward. But he did some good things. He did some good things coaching wise in that series that gave them a chance to compete. So, yeah. But Boston, too much of the Hawks.
Yeah.
And then we have the big one. Miami Heat, the 8th seed Miami Heat, upsetting the Milwaukee Bucks 4-1, beating the Bucks in 5 games behind some incredible performances by Jimmy Butler. Man, even I just want to preface this by saying, and then I want you to talk about this series, Jacob, because I know you're a big Jimmy Butler guy and you've been a believer of him for a long time. So I just want to preface this by saying the Bucks had no idea what they were doing. The Bucks had no earthly idea what they were doing, and I say that in regards to how they wanted to defend Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
And how they operated in the half court offensively. And that's always been a thing with them. Even when they won the championship, they had problems with half court offense in that playoff run. Last year, they had problems with that. This year, the Miami series, it was egregious. It was terrible to watch. Guys like Drew Holiday were struggling offensively. And when Drew Holiday is struggling to get it going, when Chris Middleton isn't really picking up the slack,
Especially Giannis missed a few games.
yeah, it's going to be impossible for the Bucks to come back from that, regardless of how good they are on the defensive end. Brook Lopez had a good series.
Yeah,
I think Brook Lopez had a really good series.
When he's like the best scorer, when Giannis is not there, it kind of says a little bit.
Yeah, and it didn't matter because Jimmy Butler was the best player on the floor every night. It felt like he controlled the game in a way that was so weird for me to see a 1 seed be controlled like that. And this is a Miami team who, going into the playoffs, I remember our buy or sell episode, I was selling. I decided to sell the Miami Heat because I didn't believe in their team. It's not because I didn't believe in Jimmy Butler. I just saw the surrounding pieces and I was like, these guys are not good. Like, This is not a good team. And it's not even like Bam had a great series or anything. It's not like Victor Oladipo got hurt in the middle of this series. Gabe Vincent steps up and gives them some big time shots. Max Strus, Duncan Robinson has come back to rotation and been decent, which is really, really weird to see. But shout out to Duncan Robinson, the $100 million man, pretty much, reemerging. Kyle Lowry has been decent in the playoffs. As big as the Kyle Lowry haters I've been in the past, I can acknowledge when Kyle Lowry's been good, and Kyle Lowry's been pretty good in the playoffs. They've had guys step up, which is kind of weird. Oh, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin has single-handedly been the X factor in why they've won a lot of these games.
Yeah, I'll say him and Kevin Love are probably the 2 main X factors for me.
Yeah, Kevin Love coming off the bench, shooting lights out, taking charges, throwing 100-foot lob passes.
Yeah,
it's just so incredible to see. And we haven't talked about Jimmy Butler for like barely any time yet. Jimmy Butler, once again, has risen to the occasion like he's shown us in the past, making us look stupid for doubting him. But man, I don't understand why he does what he does or how he even does it. But he just turns into a different person come playoff time. It's really incredible.
I don't think it's crazy to say he's probably been the best player in the playoffs so far. Maybe Devin Booker.
Yeah, it's between them two, I would say.
But like you said, I kind of was the same way. I think I texted you before the play-in and was like, I don't know about Miami. Like, they're scaring me. And then I was like, I'll trust him. I said I was going to trust him all year, and then it was kind of hard, but they would – like, even Cody Zeller, he had big games, and you didn't even know he was on the roster, I think, in the playoffs. Jimmy, I don't know. But they definitely would have not won that series without him. I think he averaged 37 points in the series. Was it game 5 that he had the game winner, or
the shot sending into overtime? Basically,
I think so. The alley-oop.
Yeah, that was the closeout game. Yeah.
Yeah, that it's like his shot. It didn't make sense. And Jrue Holiday, one of the, if not the best perimeter defender, could not do anything. He tried.
Brook Lopez was not on the floor. Mike Budenholzer took Brook Lopez off the floor completely.
I thought he was on the floor, but he was on the inbound.
No,
he might have been off the floor. Okay,
he was off the floor.
Yeah, but the best perimeter defender, one of, if not the best, he just couldn't do anything against Jimmy. He tried. He played good defense, and he was just making shots. But yeah, I just, like you said, we'll talk about the Heat next series, but it's you just can't count Miami out if they have Jimmy Butler on the floor. Hurt or not, you just can't count him out.
Yeah, and in regards to Milwaukee closing out this series, Mike Budenholzer got outcoached very badly by Erik Spoelstra in this series, and of course, it came out after the series that his brother passed away, so he'd obviously had a lot on his mind, and that's very understandable. So the fact that he was fired right after this series, I don't know. I don't know if that was the right decision or not, because the Milwaukee Bucks have a really good system, and I know that Giannis really respected Mike Budenholzer and the system that he ran, but there had always been those problems that existed with like half-court offense, and offensively they were just never I don't think they reached their potential offensively in the slightest. Defensively, of course, they were always amazing defensive team. So I'm still on the fence of whether I think that was the right decision or not. I think only time will tell that, especially depending on who they choose to hire.
Yeah. Nick Nurse, probably.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, he feels like he's kind of the same pedigree as Mike Budenholzer. Maybe his system would be different, but I don't know. I don't know. But yeah,
they also have
rough series for the Bucks.
Yeah, they also have a lot of free agent decisions in the offseason too. I think Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton, Andrew Holiday all either have player options or all free agents, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be a very interesting offseason for the Bucks, which we never would have expected that going into the playoffs.
Well, I will say before we move on, I know Giannis was out, but a 1 seed should not lose in 5 or 8.
Not at all.
Like I know how even Bam struggled. I know what Jimmy was doing, but they still should not have. They shouldn't have lost in 5.
The Bucks won 59 games in the regular season. That was like 5 or 6 more games than every other team.
But it was like, it was like Jay Crowder barely got any run time, but they gave 5 second-round picks for it. So it was a weird series for Milwaukee.
Yeah. Moving on to the Western Conference first-round series, Denver beating the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5. Shout out to Anthony Edwards. Edwards made this series fun, basically by himself. He really kept the Timberwolves in a lot of those games. He won Game 4 for them, basically. Karl-Anthony Towns was not great to me in this series. I think he was...
he averaged 18.
Yeah, I think he was pretty hesitant, but he was also coming off an injury, so I'll cut him a little bit of slack on that front. But me and Jacob talked about this after the series, and this is a sentiment that I even gave before the start of the season. Anthony Edwards is the number 1 guy on that team now.
I think they said they're going to build around him in the offseason.
It's Ant's team. It's no longer Karl-Anthony Towns' team. It's Anthony Edwards' team.
I think we mentioned it. How do you think if Cat gets traded,
That's what I was hinting at. Yeah.
What do you think about Atlanta? Him going to Atlanta or Portland even?
Not Portland. No.
No on Portland.
No. Not even because I'm a fan of the team. I just don't like the fit for either side. I'm thinking about who the Timberwolves would get back, and I'm just like, don't like it.
I like it. I think Atlanta tries to get him.
Their biggest. Okay, let me think about the fit with Atlanta real quick.
Because Capella's been there for a while. Obviously they got to the conference finals, but we know what happened. But I just think they move on from Capella because he just, I don't know. I don't know if him and Cat will kind of fit well. That's the only.
It's not a terrible fit. I think offensively that team would be really, really good. I'm just thinking of the pieces Atlanta would have to give up for that, and I think that they wouldn't want to give up a DeAndre Hunter, or it would take like DeAndre Hunter / or John Collins.
It'd be those two, probably Capella back maybe. Well, no, because they got Rudy. Never mind. It'd be weird. I wasn't thinking about Rudy.
It's possible. I could see that trade going down between those two teams. But I think that the first decision that the Timberwolves need to make is who do they want to be their coach long term. Chris Finch is not their coach long term. I hate to break it to everybody out there. He's not. He's not a good coach. He's just not.
Yeah, I had that blooper of coach of the year. He's like third, my coach of the year.
Yeah, I still will never understand why you went that direction.
I had more faith in Minnesota than I believed that they could make it work, but obviously wrong.
I mean, they've got some things to figure out. They've obviously got the whole Kyle Anderson, Rudy Gobert thing go down at the end of the year. Kyle Anderson will most likely not be back on the team because they're not gonna, dish Rudy unless extreme things come to extreme measures within the next few months. So they've got some decisions to make, but at least they know that they want to build around Anthony Edwards at this point. I think that that's the biggest silver lining of all of this. And he's proven that he can be a number one guy.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And we didn't even talk about Denver. I guess we'll talk about Denver in context of the Phoenix series. Not much to say about Denver. Denver did their thing. They did what they did.
Because they couldn't guard Jokic. So.
Yeah. Let's see. Go to Phoenix Clippers next. The Phoenix Suns defeating the Los Angeles Clippers in 5 games. Of course, we have the Kawhi injury go down in the middle of this series, kind of limiting all hope there can be for the Clippers to have a chance in this series, especially with no games being played by Paul George in this series. So after that point, it was basically over for the Clippers, unfortunately. Yeah. And it's not like the Suns came out guns a-blazing in this series. I don't think that they really had a good game until like game 3.
Yeah.
Offensively. But
most of the games were close, though, I think. Or it felt like it.
They were close games.
I think Russ, I don't know.
Shout out to Russell Westbrook.
He got him another contract. I know we kind of talked about the contract before. He got him another contract. But I enjoyed watching that. I'm not saying I enjoyed watching series, but we saw what Russ can do, actually do. But I don't know, Kawhi, PG,
I was really looking forward to the potential of this series, and the fact that we were let down by it. It does suck. It really does suck. And the Clippers have a lot of questions to ask themselves going forward.
I think they said they're committed to PG and Kawhi, but we'll see. We'll see how that, if it really like that in the offseason.
It's been 4 years at this point, man. And
every year, yeah.
It's the furthest you've been is the second round. They went to the conference finals, but they weren't both on the floor when that happened.
Yeah.
So I understand it. I want them to stay together because I think at their truest potential they are a contender. They're a contender. But man, there's just so much that has to go into both of them being on the floor at the same time together. Yeah, it's tough. It's just tough. So this series kind of was underwhelming for me. I didn't watch very much at the end of this series. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Moving forward to one of the most entertaining series of the first round, the Los Angeles Lakers defeating the Memphis Grizzlies in 6 games, 4-2. A lot of moments for this series. Of course, game 1 we got the Ja Morant injury, which kind of creates a lot of storylines for the series. Maybe we don't see the fullest potential of this one. We have Anthony Davis going down at certain moments of the series, but I think the Lakers role players were really who won this series for them. Guys like Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, and even Dennis Schroeder came in and gave them some good defense. Jared Vanderbilt played good defensively. And Anthony Davis and LeBron James had a couple of games. They had some big moments in the closer games, but I do wish that this series had been a little closer.
Yeah,
I think that the inconsistency shooting the ball for Memphis was ultimately one of their biggest downfall. Of course, they weren't able to control the glass like they want to. I thought that they sufficed on the glass well enough. They didn't get out rebounded by a lot every game, and I think that was a big testament to them. I thought Jaren Jackson, as underwhelming as he may have been offensively in this series, I thought that he had a pretty good defensive series. He stayed out of foul trouble, which was something that we mentioned going into the series, which was going to be a big thing. And I thought that he was maybe he was a little too concerned with that to really assert himself as much as he wanted to. But he didn't get in foul trouble. He was on the floor for most of the series, and that was a big thing for him.
Yeah.
And the games that Memphis won, they shot the ball well and they did well on the glass. Those were the two biggest things. In the games they lost, they did not shoot the ball well.
Yeah,
that's what the series came down to.
I think, did we go to the two games they won?
Me and Jacob were at both of the games that Memphis won.
Memphis is undefeated this year when we're both there.
Yeah, the Memphis Grizzlies are, I think, like 7-0 at this point when Ball Oasis is in the building this past season. They've not lost since like halfway through like last year since we've both been in the building. So Memphis Grizzlies fans, maybe you should just buy us season tickets or something if you want your team to succeed. But moving forward from this series for Memphis, of course, they told Dillon Brooks that they're not going to sign him back, which is interesting. It's interesting to me. It's interesting to see how that affects the chemistry of the team, but I think it may be necessary for the team to reach their next step, which I feel like maybe they've been delaying for a long time because of the chemistry that they feel like they developed with their core, and I don't think that they see Dillon Brooks as a core guy anymore.
Yeah.
Probably a good decision, but I feel like there is an element to Dillon Brooks that they will miss on the floor, that it will be it will be different. It will be a different looking Memphis Grizzlies team next year for sure. I don't think that they'll be as gritty and as up in everyone's face, maybe, which is maybe a good thing for them.
Yeah,
and it'll depend on who they sign. It will depend on who they bring.
Yeah, they'll miss his defense for sure. I think they do have to do something in the offseason, like to actually compete in the West. I mean, I know the jaw injury, but I don't know. Like, I feel like Jackson or Bane can be that second guy, but they just need one more. I think. Just
offensively, like a
yeah. I'll say offensively, yeah. Like I said, you probably, I don't know. They do have a few questions to ask themselves in the offseason, like a few trades they can make to figure something out.
Yeah, if he is available, like we're hearing that he might be this offseason, there are going to be so many teams calling the Boston Celtics about Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I've seen a few trades about it. Yeah,
he's just the absolute perfect fit, and I think that the Memphis Grizzlies should be like one of the first teams if he is somehow available. They should be one of the first teams that is blowing up the Boston Celtics line.
I've talked about this with a few fans. Would you give up Bane or Jackson for Jaylen Brown?
I'm giving up Desmond Bane because Jaren Jackson's defense is so important.
Yeah, I'd give up Bane, but if they can get Jaylen Brown, that tremendously increases their chance.
Brad Stevens is the general manager of the Boston Celtics.
It's going to take a lot to get Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, he's gonna be a little stingy. I feel like he might be hard to trade because Jaylen Brown was. All NBA teams come out on Wednesday, and there's a chance that Jaylen Brown could be first team All NBA.
Well, if he gets traded, you're going to see a Rudy Gobert or Kevin Durant package.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, And I don't know if the Memphis Grizzlies are cool yet to part with that much of their core. Talking about Bane, and it would probably take like
Tyus Jones and
Tyus Jones, yeah, or like
I think they trade Steve
Brandon
Madden.
Clark, maybe if the
Yeah.
Celtics want to take a chance on Brandon Clark. Yeah, I feel like it would take. It's going to take a lot to trade for Jaylen Brown. So, but that's like the best player. There are other like wings that are going to be available, like Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby or Lester.
I've been saying Jeremy Grant, but
I mean, yeah, free if you pick up a free agent, Jeremy Grant might be the best option for you. So it'll be interesting to see what the Memphis Grizzlies do. They've always been an organization that hasn't really been super active and been able to make a big splash. Like a Jaylen Brown trade would be by far the biggest trade in their organization's history.
Yeah, they draft more than they try to trade or sign.
Yeah. Anyways, the last first round series, the best first round series, the Golden State Warriors defeating the Sacramento Kings in 7 games. This series was so entertaining, as we all thought it would be. This series, I think 100% lived up to the hype. It was really, really fun. And I think it's the only series that I paid complete attention to. Like, I was completely locked in on Golden State Sacramento every single game.
Yeah, I think I missed like a game.
And it really did seem like after Sacramento destroyed Golden State in Game 6, going back to Sacramento for Game 7, that there was a real shot that Sacramento was going to move on to the second round. But Steph Curry put all that to bed when he went for 50 in Game 7 and just absolutely erupted. The De'Aaron Fox injury halfway through the series, I thought that was the end of the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
Because that happened in like Game 3 or Game 4. Golden State had retaken the momentum of the series. And I thought, okay, Golden State's just about to run through Sacramento 4 straight games, and they'll move on to the second round. But that Game 6 really gave me hope because they went into the Chase Center, a place that's been so hard to win as a young team, and they dominated. Shout out to Malik Monk. Malik Monk was really big in this series for the Sacramento Kings. He was huge. Davion Mitchell played a really good series. Trey Lyles was big for them off the bench. The Kings played great. The Kings played really good for a team being in the playoffs for the first time, going up against defending champions. But Golden State was ultimately just a little bit too much.
I really hope it wasn't a Cinderella run, and we keep getting the Sacramento Kings like next few years. I really hope, but they're really fun to watch. Like you said, we kind of had the questions about the experience, but they stepped up. Like you said, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk had his games. Trey Lyles, just the bench guys stepped up. It's just the firepower Golden State has just couldn't overcome it.
Yeah, and I think what also really sucks to me is one shot could have determined the series. If Harrison Barnes made that 3 at the end of Game 3 or Game 4, I think it was, the Kings win the series.
Yeah.
And but Golden State moves on, and we've got a very entertaining second round matchup between Golden State and the Lakers that has been really, really it's been blowouts. All the games have been blowouts except for Game 1.
So do you want to lead into that with the second round?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's jump right into that. That's a great transition on my part. I didn't even mean to do that. But Golden State Lakers, they are 3 games in now. Lakers lead the series 2-1. Lakers won big last night. Shot the ball pretty well. Shot about 50% from 3. Golden State did not shoot the ball well. I think we need to talk about Jordan Poole because Jordan Poole has not been good. He's not made good decisions. He's not shot the ball well. He's so important to the success of the Warriors because on nights where Steph Curry and Klay Thompson aren't just going completely berserk, Jordan Poole is the guy that comes off the bench and gives them 15, 20 points. So they have that offensive production, and Jordan Poole has not given them that. He's been really, really bad. Jacob, what have you seen from just the Warriors team in general so far in this series that has led to some pretty big losses?
I will say the Lakers have done a really good job playing defense, especially when Kevon Looney and Draymond's on the floor at the same time. They would kind of just AD and LeBron would kind of just roam. Jared Vanderbilt, I didn't think he'd guard Steph Curry this good, but he's been guarding him good, to the standard of guarding Steph Curry.
Right. You can't stop him, but
yeah. And the the bench guys, like we talked about in the Memphis series, they're still stepping up. Rui Hachimura, he's still stepping up for them. And then Poole, like when Curry or Clay have a bad night, there's not much offense. So I don't know. I guess if they could, I think last night LeBron didn't even have a good game until like the second half. I think he had like 2 points or something.
LeBron didn't attempt a shot until halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah, so it's just their role players are stepping up. AD stepped up the series, even though it's off and on with his numbers. It's just the depth. The depth is really helping the Lakers. A lot of what the Warriors lost from last season.
It's crazy. It's crazy how one trade can kind of change the season for a team that was like doomed. We were talking about. I was thinking about this yesterday. It's crazy to think that we were talking about the Lakers pick conveying to the Pelicans and the potential of being the number 1 pick.
And they have the higher pick.
We're talking about the Lakers actually making a run to the finals. And I'm not saying it's all because of that one trade, because Anthony Davis's health has been so important to all of this.
Yeah.
And D'Angelo Russell has stepped up and been pretty good, pretty much from game 5 or 6 of the Memphis series on.
Yeah.
Dennis Schroeder has been good.
Good.
And the Lakers role players have proven to be the deciding factor of their success in the playoffs so far, because it's not like outside of maybe 1 or 2 Anthony Davis games and the LeBron 2020 game, they haven't had crazy stat lines or anything. They haven't gone just completely off. And you feel like they will at some point. And maybe you feel the same thing about Steph Curry or Klay Thompson in this series, but I don't know. The Lakers seem to be in control. And that's a big thing for them. The Warriors are a team that I think that the only reason that they beat the Sacramento Kings is because they felt like they were in control. They were confident. They had the composure to take those losses and continue to run the way that they were. But the Lakers are in control. The Lakers are in control of the series so far.
Yeah. Like I said, don't want to base it all on that trade, but that trade, even the Rui Hachimura trade, that their 6th man before all the trades, it's not even playing. He's not even getting minutes. So they really did a good job of rounding that roster out, especially for the playoffs.
Yeah. What's your prediction for the series going forward? I remember we talked about it last night, and I told you I really do think that the Lakers can end up winning this series. Who do you think will win this series, Jacob?
I think the Lakers in 7. I had the Warriors in 7 at first, but after game 1, it was like I just didn't like the matchup with Looney and Draymond out there, which I think Kerr staggered them after that, but they just match up really well with Golden State. And I didn't think they would at first, but they proved me wrong. Like I said, the role guys, it's just I think the Lakers got it in 7, unless Curry has his 50-point games. But
yeah, I think that it might come down to the next game. I think that whoever wins game 4 will probably win this series, because if the Warriors go down 3-1, I mean, it's just going to be tough to come back from that. We know how tough that is. We know that Steph Curry and the Warriors are capable of that, but you're going up against LeBron James.
Like I said, LeBron hasn't had a LeBron game yet. So
yeah, who has seemed to be so in control of this series without even statistically going off or anything. And I think that the Warriors role players have been limiting to them in this series. I think Kevon Looney has still been pretty good, but Draymond Green had a really bad night last night. He had a bad night. Andrew Wiggins, of course, is just back, and he hasn't been completely himself like he usually is. We touched on Jordan Poole. Dante DiVincenzo, a guy who we saw in the regular season do a lot of things, hasn't really been that prominent in what they're doing so far in the playoffs. They're having to depend on JaMychal Green and Moses Moody in these moments, who haven't really played that much. Gary Payton is supposed to be still hurt right now. So there's a lot of questions with the Warriors. The Lakers seem to be in control, so I'm going to lean towards the Lakers as well.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it will depend on how Game 4 plays out. If the Warriors can steal Game 4 on the road, I think it will do a lot for their confidence and their composure. But I'm gonna lean with the Lakers. As crazy as that may sound, I'm leaning with the Lakers.
I think it goes 7 either way, but yeah, I'll lean Lakers.
I guess we can touch on the other Western Conference series. Game 4 is going on right now. It's tied 47-47 right now, halfway through the second quarter. This is an important game tonight for Phoenix because if Phoenix loses this game, the series is over.
They're down, yeah.
I could confidently say the series is over if Phoenix loses tonight. Because me and Jacob talked about it before we started recording. For Phoenix to win this series, they have to have exceptional games every night from Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and or both.
Yeah. And that's basically what it's been when they've
Devin Booker's averaging 37 points in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Devin Booker is doing his thing. Statistically, Devin Booker has had a better playoffs than Jimmy Butler. Statistically, Devin Booker is the best player in the playoffs so far. And he had an incredible game 3. He's gonna have to continue to carry that load. And of course the Chris Paul injury is kind of limiting on what they can do playmaking wise offensively. So we're seeing them settle for a lot of isolation possessions, a lot of mid-range shots. And they haven't gotten to the free throw line that much. And that's something that I think has really limited their potential offensively. For them to win that game 3 as good as Kevin Durant and Devin Booker were, it took a TJ Warren closeout series for them to win that game. If TJ Warren hadn't made a couple shots down the stretch, Denver still would have won that game. Which is crazy to think about because it felt like Phoenix dominated game 3. But I think that just shows where their flaws lie at this point with their current team. I think that DeAndre Ayton is on his way out.
Yeah. I was going to get to that, yeah. I'm not impressed.
It doesn't feel right. He's not impressive at all.
I think they should have did the Miles Turner trade back in the offseason, or wouldn't have been a big help, but it would have been a help. But he's offensive.
At least on paper, it seems like it would be better, right?
Yeah, just adds another shooter because Ayton doesn't. He can't stretch the floor. He can shoot in the mid range. I don't know if you saw it, but it's a few plays he just doesn't try. Like he's just lazy. But I think he's out. Even that they gave him that big contract, I think somebody will want it. But
yeah, and the thing is, outside of Jokic erupting in game 1, and Jamal Murray has had his good statistical games, it's not like Denver's role players are doing anything crazy so far. It's not like Michael Porter is giving you a 25-point game. It's not like Bruce Brown is coming off the bench and playing crazy. Aaron Gordon has been decent. I will say Aaron Gordon has been really decent this series. End of the first round too. Aaron Gordon has been good. I just don't see a way that Phoenix competes in this series, especially if they lose tonight. It's over. But it's going to be really hard for Phoenix to compete in this series against a Denver team that they run so much smoother. So much has to go right for Phoenix, and with the absence of Chris Paul, it feels like they have no control over how the game is run.
Yeah.
It felt like it's in Jokic's hands at that point.
Yeah. I would say Cam Payne has done a pretty good job, I think.
He's at least sufficed.
Yeah, but
which is about the best thing you could say about him.
I think we talked about it before. Their depth is what kind of really hurts. Like Denver's got guys that can come in and can really contribute, but I think
rookie Christian Brown has come in and been good for Denver.
Yeah, but with Phoenix, you have to have D Book or Kevin on the floor at all times, one or the other. So yeah, I had them winning, but it's really hard to say.
This is the one series that I think has nothing to do with coaching. Like I think Monty Williams is a phenomenal coach. I think Michael Malone is a good coach. But this is just Denver's behind. I mean, not Denver. Phoenix is behind the 8 ball, and if Phoenix wins, then I will say Monty Williams coached. He has to somehow defensively or somehow just work magic to win this series.
They were my finals team coming out the West, but if they want to win this series, DeAndre Ayton has to be better. I think it just comes down to him guarding Nikola Jokic. He has to do better.
And even before the Chris Paul injury, I had these reservations about them offensively. Like, we know they have great offensive players, and we know that they're going to have that kind of production. But I think it was game 2, they had 4 bench points. 4 bench points. And they brought in Terrence Ross for a midseason trade. He's barely getting any run. He got into game 3, I know. But depending on TJ Warren, who is just coming off an injury, Terrence Ross, Cam Payne is thrown into the starting role now. Jock Landale. It's the reservation that I had about them from the start of the playoffs. That's why I couldn't see them winning this series. And the Chris Paul injury is playing a big part, but
yeah,
I think regardless of the Chris Paul injury, I think this would still be a 2-1 Denver lead.
Yeah, I just counted on the main guys, but the depth that's never fails. The depth really is important.
Yeah. On to the Eastern Conference Series. We'll talk about Heat Knicks first. We'll talk about the Miami Heat versus the New York Knicks. The Heat are up 2-1 over the Knicks. Game 4 will be tomorrow night. Or this episode will come out Monday morning. So tonight, when this episode comes out, Miami Heat up 2-1. They won a big game yesterday. They've had some good role player production in this series. Like we kind of touched on earlier, Jalen Brunson has not been great in this series, shooting the ball wise. RJ Barrett has been decent.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett has shot the ball pretty well, which is a stark contrast to how he started the first series against the Cavs. He ended the series with a good game, and that's kind of led into this series. Julius Randle's on the floor, but it's obvious that he isn't 100%. He's going out there. He's playing physically. He's giving it his hardest, but I feel like the Knicks should be dominating the glass more than they are.
Yeah.
I feel like Josh Hart should be having more of an imprint on this series than he is, and I think that that's a testament to Miami's grit. I think that that's a testament to Miami's grit because we know how gritty a team the New York Knicks are, and they're being out-gritted by the Miami Heat so far in this series. Shout out to guys like Caleb Martin and Kyle Lowry and Max Strus. Those guys have been winning this series so far because Jimmy Butler has not yet had an explosive performance like he did in the Milwaukee series. He's still been good.
But yeah, like you said, other guys have stepped up. So
I feel like Josh Hart and Isaiah Hartenstein should be doing their thing. They won them game 2, I think.
Yeah,
I think that those two guys won them game 2. And I think that that's the recipe for them to win games, is that they need those guys to be the guys that ultimately determine how they win games. It's not going to be how did Julius Randle shoot or how did Jalen Brunson shoot. As important as that may be, because the Knicks shot atrociously from 3 yesterday, it's the gritty plays that the Knicks have to control in this series, because I do think that they can out offense the Miami Heat. I think that's possible. I think that's a possibility. They're a bigger team than the Heat. Physically, they should be imposing the Miami Heat, especially on the interior. But they haven't done that so far.
Yeah.
And it's not like Bam has been great. It's not like Bam has been great.
It's just the role guys. The Gabe Vincent, I think he had a game. Caleb Martin's had a game. They've been really good. It's weird, but Cody Zeller, we talked about it before. I think he was just signed right before the deadline or something. Like not trade deadline, but he's
been serviceable.
Right, he's actually been really good for them. And guys like Kevin Love, we talked about their bigs before, and their bigs are playing good somehow.
Shout out to Haywood Highsmith.
Right, he's been doing good. It's just Eric Spoelstra's a really good job coaching them. Even when Jimmy, missed, they could have won that game. I think they could have won down the stretch. They could have won that game. Guys were making big shots. And like you said, Bam's not had the best series, or a couple series, but I don't know. Miami's weird. We talked about it. They're just really weird.
It's important to note how good of a job Eric Spoelstra is doing, because they're doing this without their second best scorer a lot of nights. Like Tyler Hero is their second best scorer a lot of nights, and they don't seem to be missing him one bit right now.
They have the most undrafted players. Well, in the playoffs at least, but it's I don't know. I don't know what to think of Miami.
Culture, man. Shout out Heat culture. For the rest of the series, I think it's cool that all of these series are 2-1. I'm glad. Well, Boston Phillies, of course, 2-2 after today. But I'm glad that these aren't like potentially sweeps.
Blowout,
These series are potentially sweeps. So I'm glad that there is a little differentiation that can happen. But Game 4 is an important game because I do feel like Miami has been in control of this series so far. And if that continues to be the case in Game 4, then they will probably outlast the Knicks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Miami to win this series. I think that that's the safe bet at this point, and it would take a stark contrast in momentum for the Knicks to turn the series around. I feel like.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Heat. Like I think I told you right before Game 1, I got the Knicks in 7, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat won. And that I think I'm gonna take the Heat as what I've seen.
You had the Knicks in 7 going into this series?
Yeah.
Really? I don't remember you saying that.
I think I texted like right before the game.
Oh,
I was like
Knicks
in 7, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat get it. And I don't know. Jokic got into it with the fan or something. It was weird. But yeah, it's I don't know.
See it behind me now.
You just can't count Miami out. Even no matter what you say, how you try to convince yourself that they're out, you can't.
So weird, man. The 8 seed Miami Heat, the potential to be the second 8 seed to ever advance to the conference finals. Crazy stuff. Last series though, Boston versus Philadelphia. A crazy entertaining game today, Jacob. Let's hear your breakdown of today's game and today's series before everybody sit back, grab a snack, and let's listen to Jacob talk.
Today's game, we were up 15 points. I think 2 minutes left in the third quarter. And it slowly just dropped down, and eventually went to overtime. It was really scary. I will say, I told you this earlier, right before we started. I don't care what his stat line is. PJ Tucker is so important in the playoffs. It was Joel. I think Al Horford blocked Joel 2 times in a row, where he had like 3 blocks on him. PJ Tucker went over on a free throw, got in his ear, and started yelling. You could see him physically yell. And then Joel actually he played like an MVP after that. But with the series and all, James Harden, it's game 1, I think he had 45. Then game 2 and 3 had a combined 23 off horrible shooting. He stepped up today. I don't know, Boston, if they're making the threes, they're unbeatable. But if they're missing, it's weird. It's weird. It's been a weird series. I know you've seen a few games, but I still don't know what to think about the series. It's hard to tell. Obviously, with Joel not being 100%, and I think Rob Will got a little banged up last game, but I don't know. I think it goes to 7.
Yeah, this game was a must win for the Philadelphia 76ers. Yeah. There's no other way to put it. It was a must win. I told you yesterday that the most concerning thing about the series so far to me is it doesn't feel like Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown has erupted yet.
All right.
And I still feel that way after today. I think they both had okay games today. I thought they had some big moments in this game, but I'm still looking for at least one of them, to have a game like that. I'm still gonna lead with Boston in this series, with 2 of the 3 final home games being in Boston, and with Joel Embiid not being 100%. It would take a lot for the Philadelphia 76ers to win this series. It would take a lot for James Harden and Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris offensively to step up in these next couple of games to win the Sixers the series. Do I think it's possible? I do think it's possible. But that game today, I didn't watch all of the game today, but from what I saw, Philadelphia was in control for pretty much all of that game. And Boston almost, it feels like Boston should have won it at one point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they should have, yeah.
Which is a little scary to think about, but a huge win for Philadelphia today. PJ Tucker, like you said, PJ Tucker made some huge hustle plays down the stretch.
And one down the stretch,
yeah. He's so, like you said, he's so important to the success of whatever team he's been on. And I'm gonna roll with Boston going forward. I think that I just believe in them a little more.
Yeah, I said when Joel missed game 1, I said Boston in 6. I'm gonna still lean towards Boston because for some reason Malcolm Brogdon we can't guard him for some reason. And they switch Maxey on Tatum a lot, and he gets an easy drive off of it. Like I said, the game today, that's how they came back. They switched Maxey on Tatum a lot, and it was a few questionable calls down the stretch, as we saw. But, yeah, it's going to come down to how Joel and James plays, I think, for us. Even though, like you said, Tatum and Brown hasn't had a Tatum Brown game. But I think Tyrese Maxey could be better. He hadn't had a Maxey game yet, a 25 to 30-point game. He's had like 14 every game. Mm-hmm. And they've done a good job of figuring out who they want to guard who, I think. Like Jaylen Brown on James Harden, and Jaylen Brown is on Maxey some. That, it messes with him. But, yeah, I'll lean Celtics, but I think it goes 7 either way.
Well, I had a good basketball going on right now, man. This is it's been a good playoff so far, and I hate that I've missed as much of it as I have. I haven't been able to watch as much as I had. I haven't missed a lot, but I haven't been able to watch as much as I wanted to so far. But I'm locked in. I'm locked in now. Trust me. Going forward, I will not miss much of basketball at all.
Yeah. So there's fewer games now, so it's easier to keep up, I guess.
Yeah, we'll be here to talk about the happenings the rest of the second round. You'll probably hear from us pretty soon. Yeah. We'll be here to discuss probably the end of the second round, probably going into the third round, depending on how long that takes.
That's probably.
I don't want to put a set time on anything, but
that's next week or like weekend. I think that's sometime next week, close to it.
You think it's that long? You think it's that far away? If it's that far away, we'll for sure have an episode out before that.
Yeah, it's at least this weekend, I think.
Yeah, or maybe you guys will see a shorter episode breaking down like the last couple games of series, maybe something like that within the next couple of days or so. Maybe we get something like that out to y'all. But yeah, good episode today, breaking down what we've seen so far. Jacob, you got anything to say before we close today?
No, got everything.
Yeah. Thanks for being patient, y'all. Thanks for waiting on us. Maybe these episodes aren't at a high demand by anybody, but
still fun to do.
It really did suck to take as long as a break as we did. So I'm glad that we're back. I'm glad that we're doing this now, and I'm glad that we're locked in on the playoffs.
Yeah.
Without anything else being said, though, I guess we'll sign out for now. We'll see y'all in a couple days. Hopefully, see y'all.
See y'all.